Let's be real. Most players bet because they have a good hand, or they think they should just do something, or that checking just seems, well, weak. You've probably caught yourself saying, I have top pair, I should bet into these chumps, don't want to let them get a free card. Or, I've got a pair, let's throw some chips out there just in case. But here's the thing, that kind of thinking is holding you back. In today's video, we're diving into a simple but powerful poker concept. Why are you betting? Understanding this will change the way you approach the game, and a great place to start with building a poker player's mindset. Here's a classic scenario. You're dealt ace-jack, cracking. The flop comes down king-jack 9. You've got second pair with a solid kicker. Your first instinct? I've got a decent hand, I should bet. What's the chance they happen to hit a king anyways? But let's slow down. If you bet, what's really happening here? What hands are calling your bet? Are they weaker hands you're beating? Or are they hands that crush you, like a king, two pair, or a straight? For example, let's just think about pairs. King is always calling here. Jack is probably calling. And 9 is less often calling. We have a jack, so there are already less jacks in the deck for them to call with. So just looking at pairs, if we bet, then we will more often run into them having a king than a jack. Then the rest of the time they fold, and we can't get any value. 2. What hands are folding? If you bet, is your opponent folding worse hands you actually want to keep in the pot? Like in this sitch. We want to keep the weaker jacks and 9s in the pot, right? Because we might be able to get some more chips out of them on a later street. 3. What's your goal? Are you betting because you think you're ahead? Ahead of what? Are these hands going to pay your value bet? Are we trying to force a fold? If they likely have a worse hand, do we want to try and force a fold? Why not just show down with the best hand, even if we don't bet? In this spot, a bet might not even make sense. If a king, two pair, or a straight calls, you're behind. If a random low pair or a bluff folds, you're not gaining any value. You're just pushing out hands you already beat. So why bet? The occasional value we get from a worse jack or some crazy guy calling with junk happens less often than we get called from a better hand. And those crazy people will still be crazy on the next street, so we won't miss out. Here's the right way to think about betting. Before you throw chips into the pot, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. What am I trying to accomplish? Are you betting for value, as a bluff, or to deny equity, protect our hand? 2. What hands will call me? Are they better or worse than mine? If only better hands call, maybe betting isn't the best idea. If lots of worse hands call, start blasting. 3. What hands will fold? Are you forcing worse-made hands out of the pot? Or folding out hands that could have bluffed later? Can we keep in a hand that will call bets on later streets after some bricks drop? Are there many cards that may improve their hand that we'd still be ahead of? By answering these questions, you'll start making intentional decisions instead of random bets. Let's go back to our ace-jack example on a king-jack 9 flop. It's your turn to act. Instead of betting just because you have a pair, let's apply our thought process. 1. What am I trying to accomplish? Am I betting for value? Probably not. Some worse hands are calling, but there are more that beat us. Am I bluffing? Not really. Betting here doesn't force better hands to fold. Am I denying equity protection? Not much. Hands like queen or 10 already have a straight or are folding anyway. Even if someone came along with 10-8, we're going to have to bet bigger to charge them for chasing. But we don't really want to do that and pay off all the kings out there. And if a 7 or a queen comes out, then we're in a bad spot. 2. What hands will call me? A king? That's bad news. A straight? Worse news. Maybe a pair of 9s or 10s or jacks, but those might fold also. Basically, when we get called, we're not loving it. 3. What hands will fold? Random weak hands that might have bluffed later. Hands we actually want to keep in the pot. Like a bad pair or a missed straight draw. Say they had that 10-8 and a 10 drops on the river. They might hero call a bet now, thinking that we are having a bluff. Or they might bet thinking we had ace-9. If they don't fold some of these hands, then it gives them more opportunities to make mistakes with them later. So in this spot, betting doesn't accomplish much. If we always bet here, then quite quickly it'll seem like these guys just hit the king every time and we're always unlucky when they call. The better move might be to check and reevaluate on the turn. That way, you keep weaker hands in the pot. Avoid building a big pot when you're behind and time to gather more information. We also encourage our more free-spirited friends to send some chips our way with worse hands on later streets, which is very kind of them. Ever been in this spot? This is such a common one that's a little counterintuitive at first. You flop top pair, great kicker. Bet flop, clean turn so you bet. Clean river so you bet. Now it's a good-sized pot and you've got a good hand. They call and show they rivered 2 pair. Why does this keep happening? Let's look at your river bet here. We bet because we've got a good hand, right? Wrong. It's this kind of thinking that's getting us into this mess. Let's break it down. What are we trying to accomplish? Well, in this case, value. However, better hands aren't folding, though we might have seen a raise from them by now. But we're overlooking something. Do worse hands really call this river bet? Are good players happy calling with just a pair or less for 3 barrels, even if it is a dry board? Really? So yeah, we have a good hand, and our opponent can get to the river with worse hands. But if we bet, they don't call the worse hands, and they do call the better hands. So it'll seem like they always turn or river a 2 pair or similar when they call, and that's simply because that's what we're making them do. It seems weird at first, when we know we have the best hand a lot of the time here, but we just check and showdown. It feels like we should value bet here, but when we think it through, we're not getting value, just fattening pots for those times they did get lucky and spike the river 2 pair after calling down with 3rd pair naff kicker for some reason. And when they don't get lucky, we've automatically already punished them on the first 2 streets and get to see their mistakes at showdown. Magic. Betting in poker isn't about, I have a good hand, so I bet. It's about understanding the why behind your actions. By asking yourself these simple questions. What calls me? What folds? And what am I trying to accomplish? You'll stop making automatic decisions and start playing more intentional, smarter poker. If this video helped you rethink your approach to betting, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more practical poker tips. Got a hand where you weren't sure why you bet? Drop it in the comments and let's talk about it. Thanks for watching, and remember, every chip you save is a chip you can win later. Like and subscribe to help support this channel. See you at the tables.